What's up, everybody, and welcome to another episode of No Client Agent Privilege, aka No Cap Podcast. It's your boy Evan, your boy Will, and we have a very special guest with us. He is the strength coach over at Seton Hall University. Angelo, say what's up to everyone and give us a little bit on your background, and we can jump right into this conversation. Strength coach, the strength coach. I know we could go all night, so let's just get it started.
Hey, man, super happy to be on a No Cap podcast. I love what you guys are doing. And a quick, thumbnail sketch of my career. I grew up in the Jersey Shore. It's where I am right now. Started lifting weights to get better at sports. Just really fell in love with the weight room. Decided I wanted to do that as a career. Went to University of Delaware for undergrad. GA strength coach at Virginia Tech to do my master's work. And then I worked at NC State, the Pittsburgh Pirates. And then I've been at Seton Hall. I just finished up 20 years, about to kick off year 21. So if your listeners know anything about college athletics, 20 years is a long time in a regular job. It's an eternity in college sports. But I found something I like, man. I like where I am. I grew up a Seton Hall fan, and I had a Seton Hall starter jacket when I was a kid, and I got to be a part of that for 20 years. And I like what you guys are doing show-wise, because I would say the first 15 years of my career at Seton Hall, college athletics was one thing, right? It was pretty normal. It was what it was since the 1950s. And the last 5 years, it has changed a lot. So you guys are involved intimately in the NIL side of things, the transfer portal I've heard talked about on your show. And it's a crazy time, man. Eventually this will all kind of peter out. We'll find a new normal, but I don't think we have yet. And that was kind of the idea behind my second book, which we're going to talk about today. It's called The Next 4 Years. It's how to succeed in this new wild west of college sports that's out there. Because, we get a lot of questions. There's a lot of good resources out there, your show being one of them. But I want to throw my 2 cents in and put the book out and let people know my version of success in college sports in the current climate.
Oh, yeah. I mean, especially from just in, like you said, the last 5 years and the generational gap that we've closed down on between, not getting paid to now revenue sharing, and how quickly that has really truly progressed. And, the guys who you probably started coaching, 20 years ago, they're thinking now, damn, why can't I have been in this 20 years ago? Why couldn't this happen 20 years ago? So the difference of, perspectives from what you saw coaching kids to now coaching kids, even for me as a high school strength and conditioning coach, I'm looking at it and bigger, stronger, faster is the bare minimum. Now it's like you got to be bigger, stronger, faster, and smarter, and money financing. Like you got to have not only on the field stuff, you got to have all the off the field stuff even earlier. So, having that all in your bag and being able to even start off at this young of an age before you even get to you in college, it's a whole nother ball game now. So give us a little bit about where you're at now with regards to Seton Hall and how long you've been there and what you're progressing with this, especially with this new book. Give us a little more insight towards what you're trying to preach upon, especially and if you want, give us a little bit about your first book, because I know this is your second, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So a couple of things on what you just said I want to touch off on real quick for the listeners. When you talk about the changes that happened in the last couple of years of NIL and stuff like that, so in 2018 we had a really good men's basketball team, went reasonably deep in the Big East tournament, and we had 3 players that were they were the face of the university. We had them on everything, besides the buses, billboards on the turnpike. They were everywhere, right? And every time I used to drive by one of the bus stops with their faces on them, I go to the weight room later to work them out, and I'd be like, guys, I got 2 questions. Number 1, how are you not getting paid for this? And number 2, who photoshopped these pictures? Because none of you guys are this handsome in real life. Right?
For real.
All 3 of you guys still playing overseas, and they come back in the summer, and we'll kind of talk about that, like what that would have been worth now if they were 6 or 7 years younger, right? Which we're talking, 6 figures at least for signings like that and stuff, where we live in a heavily populated area. The one thing, and the other thing with high school strength coaches, why you guys have a unique opportunity that I really don't is, back in the day, say up to 2019, if you were a class of 2019, let's say football player, your competition for a scholarship was the rest of the class of 2019, right?
That was it.
Now your competition is the class of probably 2015 through 2022, based on the way the transfer portal works and the COVID year and the grad year.
Yeah.
So now you're trying to be a 17-year-old young man or woman trying to be a 22 or 23-year-old grown man or woman out for a scholarship. That is a complete game changer, something we haven't seen before, right? So I high school kids in the summer, and I really like it. But the story I'm getting a lot is, I'm getting recruited by Division II, Division III, because the D1s are only doing transfers and trying to bring kids in. They're already proven at a Division II or III level, or a lower Division III, Division I, and pulling them up. So it's a unique time to be a college athlete, and some of it's really good. Like if you're really good at your sport, you're marketable, you can make a ton of money. That's an amazing
so much,
thing, right? But if you're on the cusp or you're a little under physically developed in your high school senior, there's a chance your journey might start at Division II or III school and hopefully end up at Division I, where 10 years ago you would have been a blue chip in your senior class. Would you guys agree with that?
Agreed, 1,000%. I mean, even Rick Pitino just came out and said, "Hey, we're not recruiting high school kids." It's just that he was just that blunt about it. He just said, "Look, we don't need them. I'd rather not deal with them. Let's just go grab kids out of transfer portal. I can deal with the guy who only has 1-2 years of eligibility, and I can coach them up because I know they're mature enough and ability to learn my playbook is, easy for them." So
can I say something real quick? As a guy that works in the Big East, in some ways against Rick Pitino and St. John's, to throw this out there real quick. This is common knowledge. It's out on the internet. It's been on TV.
Right.
2 years ago, he got one of our guys out of the transfer portal. It was a very good player, right? Granted, really good guy. But he needed a letter of recommendation to get into grad school at his next place. And this happens to me a lot because I teach classes. I'm in the weight room. I'm like a nice personal guy. I write a lot of letters of recommendation for our guys going to grad school. Now, here's what I'm saying to listeners. If I go out of my way to write you a letter of recommendation, and then I see on ESPN a week later you got 6 or maybe 7 figures that I helped you get, you got to buy me my family dinner. You got to take me out back. Like, everybody's getting paid from this. I think my letters of recommendation are worth something in the current climate. So I'm doing it for free now. I'll always help our guys out. But at some point, the bank is closed, and I'm going to start asking for a fee for these letters to get these guys into grad school.
I get you on that one for sure.
There's something there. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, I completely understand that one for sure. Even from the agency perspective on, interns, getting their, letter of recommendations for me. And of course, I'm going to say yes. Like, you're a byproduct of me. Like, if you don't go out and be successful, it's on me because I didn't guide you the right way. So even on the coaching side, I got the kids that I got to get successful. But not only that, but I got to get my interns, and Will can vouch for me. Then I write you a letter of recommendation too.
Absolutely, yeah.
So it's it's like and Will's gone and been successful, and so here we are now. So Will, do you have any questions?
Yeah, definitely. Just wanted to kind of dive into your position a little bit more. What kind of brought you to strength and conditioning, and how rewarding have you found it, and what are some of the challenges that you've faced, along the way?
Nice. Well, it brought me to it kind of like probably every other strength coach. I love sports as a kid. I love lifting weights. I fell in love with the weight room, and at some point probably liked the weight room more than the sports I was playing, right? Got involved in competitive powerlifting, some Olympic weightlifting, and just really love training, right? And I think it's probably one of the best ways you can combine sports and training is being a strength and conditioning coach. Rewarding-wise, I think one of the coolest things, and this is one thing in the current era you're not getting to see as much, really seeing development, right? Seeing guys, men and women come in barely making a college team and being all Big East and maybe getting drafted in baseball or basketball. That's one of the coolest things you can ever see because, I think, being honest, we play a small part in that. It's skill development. It's just physical maturity. They work hard, but we play a part in that, right? So it's really cool to be a part of that, and we got to be a part of that for a long time. The challenge now, though, is that we're barely getting any 4-year men and women, right? I'm dealing with kids that get to know them real well in September, and they might be gone in May, and that's a whole different ball game. And if you guys, you're a strength coach yourself, the training model is just completely different, right? The training model used to be long-term athletic development over 4 or 5 years, and now we're looking at it. We just got to get them on campus, not get them sore, do some injury prevention stuff, and make sure they're ready to play games because they're playing games immediately. And then they might be gone at the end of that season. So the model's changed a little bit. I listened to most of your episodes, but 2 episodes ago, you were talking about this whole thing, and I think this will eventually kind of normalize, and we'll find a new version of this that kind of works long term. But now it's a very short term training period for a lot of our student athletes.
Right.
Yeah, I never, honestly, now that you say it like that from the strength conditioning coach, because I even know my guy, Coach Joey, who's over at Tulsa now, who's at FAU, Like, I know his program was literally built for 2-3 years, to develop guys, and obviously if they make it, to make it to the pros, so that model now being from the coaching side, it has to dramatically change for you guys. I mean, you get one fall with the basketball player, you get one Big East tournament. If you make you make March Madness, then he's gone by April. I honestly did not even think of that towards, a strength conditioning program where in 7 to 8 months, the guy that you bet on to carry your team, yeah, he's gone. So now your program, you hope you didn't, like you said, the soreness, the stiffness, no injuries. Because, if he goes to the next guy, oh, well, I'm a little sore from such and such university, then you're going to be looked at as the guy, like, maybe I shouldn't transfer there. That's a crazy perspective that I honestly did not take into consideration from a strength coach position, where now you got to be careful of how quickly, how fast, how push you're pushing the athletes, because you're really 2-3 months and then season. So what, 12-week program, and then you're ready to rock and roll. I mean, that is nothing in the strength conditioning side in reality.
Yeah, it's a completely different ball game. And then the other thing we're dealing with now is kind of different is the level of injury we're having guys and girls come in with, right? We used to deal with high school seniors that were pretty uninjured, like pretty put together. And now, the typical kid we're bringing in, he's 18, he's 22 or 23. That means he probably had some injury.
A little beat up.
Surgery. Just a different body than we've had before. So I think, again, I don't think this is all necessarily bad things, but I think if you're a practitioner, you got to really think about this and program a little bit differently and program for the world we live in. And I'm a big podcast guy. I've been on a ton. I listen to a ton. And I love debates. I love, where should this go? How should this work next time? What's the next version of college sports? But the book came about because I realized my opinion doesn't matter. Like, Adidas, Nike, and AAU are not going to stop making $1 billion. I think college sports should be different. I understand that. So I kind of want to write the manual for the way it is now. So this is the way kids and families can kind of prosper the way it is now, because I think that's a little more valuable. I'll debate all day. I have my ideas about things. But I think at the end of the day, we want to help people and serve our athletes and clients and their families. The best thing is, here's the way the world is. Here's some things you can do to prosper in it and move on. And hopefully, be healthy, be successful, and in today's world, make some money doing it.
Yeah, agreed. So, go ahead with another question.
Yeah, so you said that you worked a little bit for the Pirates in Pittsburgh?
Yeah.
So it was that kind of like, I guess, where do you think the differences lie between strength and conditioning when it comes to the pro side versus the college side? Like, where do you kind of see, the similarities and, some of the differences as well?
Great question. And let's go back to when I did that. There was just pre-NIL transfer portal, traditional college sports, and then no salary cap era baseball, right? That's when I was involved in both. And I'm going to loop this around why it all makes sense. But back then, pro baseball, number one, the biggest thing is it was clearly a business, right? So no educational component. It's, we need you to do X on the field. If you can't, we're sending you down, trading or releasing you. It's a transaction, right? Now, college sports now is closer to that than it was 20 years ago, but then it was a little bit different, right? The other thing is you're dealing with grown men. So, there's no, you might get some kids you draft out of high school, their rookie season, they're young kids. But for the most part, you might deal with guys from 18 to literally 35, 37 years old in pro baseball that train differently, have been training one way, and they're kind of set in their ways, and they know what works for them. So you can't be, in there, you got to do this, this, and this when they know that doesn't work for them. You got to be a little more open and forgiving and work with them a little more, because they are professionals, right?
Right.
At the college level, it was always dealing with younger kids, younger training ages, and just they needed more things. They were further away from their physical peak. Whereas by the time you're getting drafted to play pro baseball, after you've been in the league a couple of years, you're pretty close to maxing out your potential. Now you're just kind of working on injury prevention, stuff like that, right? I do think that the college model right now is somewhat like professional baseball, where we have no salary cap, right? Where if you want to be the Yankees and push all your chips in every year, you could do that. I know you guys are in Florida. I went to a Florida Marlins game earlier this year, and I, number one, could not recommend more. It's a cool stadium. It costs less to go to a professional baseball game in South Florida than to go to the movies in New Jersey.
Yeah, it does.
But I was looking at the banners, right? So they won the World Series in 97 and 03, and they haven't been very good the years outside of that. What they did is I think the organization made a decision of we're going to push all our chips in this year, make a run, maybe win a World Series, and then fire sales start again, right? And it's kind of what we're seeing at the lower levels of college sports. If you look at a lower level mid-major college team, analogous to a small market Major League Baseball team, which is we probably can't compete with the Yankees every year, right? But every 6 or 7 years, we could get together a good roster, bring a couple young guys up from the minors, make a couple trades at the deadline, and push, right? And then at the end of that, if it works or not, we got to sell everybody off and start again and go back to the bottom of the division for a couple of years. And I kind of had that idea when I was down in Miami. We said that that's kind of the model a lot of your smaller schools are on now, which is we can't compete with the Big 12 and all those conferences every year, but maybe every couple of years, Gonzaga could have a great team. Every couple of years, Villanova could have a great team, but it's not going to be every year. Would you guys agree with that analogy?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, even you can see some of the schools that have kind of bumped their way up from FCS that are like, going into mid-major conferences and stuff. They're coming in, hot. Like they took kids from transfer portal, from Texas and some of the backup, but they were FCS schools. And then they bump up for a year. And now they're a group of 5 school with SEC talent, with, mid-major talent. So now they're coming into the group of 5s, and now they look competitive. Like they look like they're ready to go out. And Missouri State's a great example. They're FCS last year or 2 years ago. Now they're Conference USA. But their roster in Conference USA, they could easily go out and win the whole conference championship. In all honesty, I mean, in reality, I mean, if you just saying it like that, like they were a good powerhouse FCS school. They bump up. They did it the right way through the transfer portal. Now, like you just said, you bring in the roster that you think can go compete, and you do what you can with it. And, after you like you said, fire sell and see if you can grab a couple more guys in 3 or 4 more years. However the model, I think for college, it'll be a little bit shorter. You'll get easily 2. I think you could do it in 2 years instead of waiting 5 or 6 years, because I think with the amount of college fluidity, it's bang, bang, bang. And then you can grab kids from, I mean, honestly, you can grab an SEC kid here and there. You could grab a Big 12 kid, a Big 10 kid, a 5-star. I mean, if you go look at UNLV, everyone's talking about how they're like the backdoor 5-star school, because everybody who was a 5-star or came out in the last 3 years is now on UNLV. So they're like the sleeper. Like they've got 4 5-star kids from 2 years ago that are now their starters. So it's like, if UNLV goes out and does something, y'all know why. You rank them as 5 stars for a reason.
Right. And I think the one that's interesting is all the schools at this level that we're talking about in basketball, which is a little different than football right now. 1 or 2 big donors can make a massive difference. You only got to convince one guy or one woman that you want to go all in this year, right? And now for right now, to the salary guy, you really can, right? So I watched the Vice show about St. John's, but I mean, you can make an argument. Rick Pitino's top assistant is the guy who owns vitamin water, right? He's really the guy writing the checks, and as long as he wants to write the checks, go all in, right? I do think if I was a billionaire, I would conduct my affairs exactly like that guy. I would make my first billion, put all my money on 50 Cent, do that, and then I don't know if you remember, you made 50 Cent a ton of money back in the day. And then I hang out with basketball players. That'd be my lifestyle.
Yeah, I mean, look at BYU. Perfect example of being all in on one kid. I mean, we just had a basketball scout on our last episode, or 2 episodes ago. And, he even said, he looked great the year before. This year he looked good. But, is that intensity of $7 million as a freshman coming onto campus, is that going to be a negative, or are you gonna be able to bring the fire in the fall, even though you just got paid to basically be a one and done, or do you just survive the year and go pro? I mean, obviously Cooper Flagg, pushed it to the limit to try to get Duke that championship, and there was some speculation that he might come back, but you just know how short of a career span you are as a professional athlete, period. You really can't take that risk anymore, even though college is allowing you to earn money. We all know that on the professional side, that's your generational wealth. You just a first overall pick is better than another year at Duke, no matter how you want to spin it.
Right. I get asked these kind of questions a lot, and I think it's really hard to answer because I think the answer is so individualized, right? If you had a chance if you had a chance to be a lottery pick and you really said make generational wealth in the NBA and have a signature shoe and everything that goes along with that, that's the right choice, right? But if you're not that guy and you can make a lot of money in college, that's the right choice. But then I tell all the time too, if you're a guy that you got to kind of be realistic with yourself, the league's not going to happen. Maybe getting a degree is the right choice, right? It's really we're seeing baseball guys move around, some lower level basketball guys move around, and they're not all going to be in the majors or the NBA. So I think sometimes I think that the major thing we have to face as college sports is, and I think we all know the answer, maybe unfortunately, is this still an educational experience for the players, or is it just a business and a minor league and a path to the league? And if we're going to take the school component out of it, then you should probably just make as much money as you possibly can in a shorter period of time as you possibly can, with the idea that you have to continue to improve your game and your physical abilities to get the real bag at the end of that, at the draft or whatever it might be at the end of that. But
right.
And you know what I think is crazy too, we don't talk about enough? There's countless stories of men, and mostly men, but I guess some women in some sports too, getting a lot of money at 23, 24 and going completely broke by the time they're 30, right? Just having nothing left of the signing
all the time.
So now we're going to take that same demographic and go from giving them the bag at 23 to giving it to them at 16 or 17 before they go to college. Are we going to be shocked when this doesn't work out well for everybody? We have to see that coming. Am I right about that?
You're 100% right, because I can tell you from down here, I know, multiple, and again, I can't say what the future is going to hold, but the amount of kids in South Florida at the high school level that are already earning profit from NIL at the high school level, not just from what the school's giving them, but with regards to what they're earning from, sponsorship deals and the NIL marketing side, those kids at one, I can tell you right now, he's the number one quarterback for the 2016 or the 2026 class. For this class, for him, when he steps on the campus, the generational wealth is kind of already there for him. Like to now say what is he going to do at college for 3 years? Is the drive going to be there? Is the financial literacy going to be there? Because he's at 16 and already making this money. So, again, the question is, do we see issues? I mean, yeah, we've already seen issues with grown men not being able to handle their money. So what's it going to be when you give a 16, 17-year-old, hey, here's your 6-figure check. Don't spend it all in one place. Don't let too many people get a chunk of it. Especially as the agent side, I can tell you those conversations have been had by multiple kids that I kind of guide and work with. Like, hey man, this is what we're going to do. This is how we're going to work it. So that's going to be there for you. Not just, hey, here's your check. Go do what you want with it.
Yeah.
Go have fun. Because it's gonna turn into a domino effect. As soon as the first real check hits, boom, it's already gone out the window, and we're right back to square one. So.
I think it's good, man. If you guide some people and help make the right decisions, I think that's the best thing to do. Because again, he's just very young. They're really kids if you look at it.
Of course.
A lot of money early on, and then I know you're still with the transfer portal in some of the episodes. I got a chapter in a book about it. It's kind of like the cliche is true. I think the grass is always greener on the other side, but sometimes it's greener where you water it. So I think I don't know if the transfer portal is not. I think it's fair to the players. I think it's a little rough on the programs that you put a lot of money and develop a kid for a couple of years. You can leave it any minute. And I do think at some point we're going to have to put some kind of parameters on it, because I look at a place like Seton Hall. If you go in our gym and look at the banners, right? It's every couple of years we've had a good run where a group of seniors stay together and played a good. Then they graduate. Then we might have a down year, and then we kind of build back up again. And we're not having guys stay around long enough to do that. So I think, again, my question is, what happens to our fan base? If we just put a whole different lineup on the floor every year, do our season ticket holders keep coming back? I put it. The analogy I make is this: right now, a preseason poll is useless because everybody got all new players. It means you might as well just throw a dart at the Big East banner and say like Marquette's going to win this year because we're all new
That's
players.
it.
Right? And the other thing is, as a fan, I feel like early in the season now, I used to know what I would. If I was a fan, I knew they're bringing back these guys. The other team's bringing back these guys. Here's what I remember they played last year. Here's what I'm buying a ticket for. Now I feel like I'm going to a movie theater and just throwing $20 at a kid and being like, I want to see a movie. What movie?
Yeah.
I don't know. Just put a movie on. I'll pay for it. Which is like, is it more of a movie? Is it a romance? Is it what are we watching? Could be anything, right? That's kind of what we're seeing right now, especially those November, December games at college basketball and first couple games of college football.
Hold on. Did I lose him? Or
No, you're good.
Okay.
No, I'll throw in. Yeah, I totally agree with what you're saying. We've talked about it a couple times now, where it's just like, how can you really build a fan base? How can you build a culture? How can you expect your donors and your season ticket holders and your major gifts people to keep supporting if you're just changing things every year? And maybe it's not because of the institution or because of the athletic department, but it's just because the kids are thinking that there's a better opportunity that awaits them somewhere else. It's
I
not
think
fair. It's not fair to the administration, the athletic administration, in my opinion. I mean, I'm not going to say that it's bad that they're working harder, but it makes their jobs a lot more difficult, just in the sense that they don't even know if they're going to have a single kid on the roster by the end of the season.
I think the number for this year, there was 30. I want to say like 33 teams that had more than 15 starters returning, or less than 15 starters returning. That's it. That was like the highest number. Like for football, yeah. For Division I, there were 33 schools that had 15 or more starters returning. That is, I mean, an astronomical number. Like, even if you say like half of them graduated, but like to say literally half of your starters aren't coming back because of the transfer portal is absolutely insane. Like, I mean,
it goes up every year too, the number.
Yeah, and again, I mean, again, on the transfer portal side, we've had the topic of conversation and our opinions based off when is it allowed, when should it be allowed, what should the parameters be on it. I mean, again, like Will just said, with regards to fan bases, donors, alumni, even just trying to build new facilities or create anything with momentum, it just, you lose your best player because of the transfer portal. It just it's got to eat at you as a coach, as a staff. Like, it's just got to be tough. I mean, it has to be.
Let me ask you guys. I don't get to talk to many people on your side of the fence on this, right? Because I'm so ingrained in it on the athletic department side.
Yeah.
When you guys are dealing with young kids, like your young high school kids, sophomore, junior high school, are they coming to you with the idea of, I'm going to start off at this small school, and in a year I'm going to put some numbers up and be out? Like, is that part of the plan now for young kids?
Yeah, and I think it kind of goes back to one of our earlier points of the schools recruiting aren't the big schools. Like the guys, the SEC schools, those kids, if you're a 3-star and below, you're probably, you're still a mid-major type guy unless you have that 4-star, 5-star accolades behind you. And I think that's where a lot of those 3-star guys are saying what you just asked. Hey, I'll go to, let's say, Toledo. I'll show out in the MAC. I'll do 2 years in MAC. And then I'll go transfer to a Big 12, a Big 10, an SEC type school and do my last 2 years if I need, or my 1 year to get my eligibility out for the draft. So, I've seen kids do it. I mean, there's been a couple kids that went to UNL Monroe, transferred to Alabama for a year, and then transferred to an Ole Miss, and, they make it to the league. So I guess you could say it's worked out for some kids, but I can guarantee a lot of those kids that have that mindset, they get into the second year of their plan, and it's like, man, I'm still not getting these offers. I'm still not getting these big school offers because maybe you just didn't, I don't want to say put in enough work, but like, it's just there might be another kid that's better than you thinking the same mindset. Like, I'll do my 2 years and then I'll transfer. But yes, I would say that is a lot of those kids, the 3 stars, 2-star type kids that, hey, I'm going to go do 2 years at an FCS school and then I'll transfer up to a bigger school. So yeah, I think that is a lot of the kids' mindsets going into some of their committed, decisions. The whole 3, 4-star guys. It's definitely more common for sure, especially now that there is that opportunity to transfer. Though without that opportunity to transfer, you're going to go fight for your Division I big time school. But a lot of these kids are, you know what, I'm okay with going to, and no disrespect to any of the mid majors, but like FIU, USF, and then I can transfer to, even if you just want to go down the street to UCF or Gainesville, whatever, a bigger school with a bigger bankroll, because like you said, the grass is greener per se. So
I'll tell you what, and we can, I think we could, people in our generation, we could scream all day how wrong the transfer portal is, right? But I look back, I started watching the NBA in the 90s, and you had those guys like Dennis Rodman, Scottie Pippen. They went to a small school because they were kind of undersized, not very skilled, and they got to be like superhuman because they grew a lot in a short period of time. They really were on their game, and they end up being phenomenal NBA players, but their college numbers look like NBA 2K stats because they couldn't leave that school, right? Like if you were if you were on a scale of 1 to 10, if you were a 6 coming out of high school, but your first year at a small college, you got to be a 9 or a 10, you had to run out your career there, right? Which is a completely different thing than now. If you look at some of the best players in the NBA in the 90s, they were at like small schools because they developed, grew, and got better in college, right? And now that, number one, that kid goes to one and done. He's in the league by the time he's 20 and he makes that maturity leap in the NBA, which is definitely better for him. That's definitely a better setup. That's a weird thing to think about, that if you go to a small school and just get better, now you can see the fruits of your labor right away and not end up being like the best player in a school with 2 directions in the title for 3 years, and hopefully you don't get hurt and get a nice check at the end of that by the NBA. So yeah, I think like everything else, man, there's good and bad about it. I think right now it's the Wild West. It's going to normalize at some point. But I do think if you're a talented athlete right now and you're younger, there's never been a better time, right? Could you have chosen a better time to be born than right now? And the example I always give is the pitcher on the Pittsburgh Pirates now that was on LSU last year, Paul Skeens and his girlfriend.
Yeah, Skeens.
Like, that entire empire is only possible right now, right? That NIL, social media, shoe deals. If they were born 50 years ago, they'd just be like a really good-looking couple living in a regular suburban house. And now they're going to think their grandkids aren't going to work because they just were born at the exact right time in history to cake off all their skill set, right? And even guys like us, right? We're making money with sports and the internet, and that could only happen right now. So I can't really apologize to somebody who's 75 right now. They didn't get to do it because I happened to be born when I was born, the same way this crop of college athletes happen to be born when they're born.
Right, exactly. And I mean, again, and we've had that conversation of just the era that we're in. And even for me, I'm kind of like the half era. Like, I halfway understand the transfer portal and I halfway understand not to have the transfer portal. Because when I grew up, if you transferred, you were kind of shunned. Like you were, I mean, if for me, I look at it from the transfer portal, I would have not wanted to be friends with that kid, or I wouldn't have looked at him the same way if they were transfer in. Even at the high school level, if you transferred in from a local school or somebody from around the area, we looked at you like traitor, like we don't want you here. Like I don't know, just mentality wise, it was not the same. Like I didn't want kids to transfer in because that means you were probably taking a spot from one of my guys. Like you were coming in and taking my boy's position. So I mean, that's again maybe my half in the transfer portal, then half the mindset of not being able to transfer or being able to transfer. I understand some situations are just out of control, and thank God you can still play. Whereas you don't lose a year or you're ineligible, stuff like that. So
yeah, I think here's what I think, man. I think any rational adult look at the first 7 years of the NCAA from the 1950s to 2020 and say the institutions and coaches had way too much power over the players, right?
agreed.
And then I think a lot of rational people would argue now the pendulum may have swung too far in the opposite direction, right? Now the market may have overcorrected and it needs to be somewhere in the middle if this is going to go on, right? I think, the idea of the players having all the power and the coaches having none is not going to work forever. So I think, guys like us are trying to steer kids in the right direction and do their thing that way. But I've said for my whole decades-long career, if you sell out an arena and make 20,000 people buy tickets and beers and jerseys, how do you not deserve to get paid for that, right? Because if Justin Bieber sells at the same arena, he gets paid, right? So I've never been ignorant of that fact. But I just think we might need to find a little bit better way to do it, or a more sustainable way to do it, right?
Yeah.
Right.
And I think that's just one kind of way to look at it. Where you guys are in Florida, were you guys both born in Florida?
Yeah,
Nope.
I was.
Okay.
Will is from New York.
As somebody from New Jersey, Florida seems like such a hotbed of athletic talent, right? When we
All
get
day.
Florida kids up here, they're usually super talented. How many guys playing in the pros from Florida is astronomical, right? What do you attribute that to? Because as Australian distant coach from another part of the country, I look at like genetically, what is going on that you guys turn out so many talented athletes in so many different sports? It's not even like it's just quarterbacks or just point guard. It's everything, right?
It's such a it is such a lifestyle down here. Like it is literally like I've been in so many of the neighborhoods of my boys and grew up with some kids that still play in the league now and watch kids grow up, throughout my years down here. And really, it's just the drive. Strength and conditioning definitely, but like being able to not take days off, like legitimately, like not just physically take days off, but legitimately being able to go to the park every day, to go practice every day, not having to worry about some snow day or, other than a hurricane here and there. You can literally practice your sport, whatever sport it is down here. We've had Anthony Rizzo, we've had Scotty Barnes, like Lamar Jackson, like you said, every sport. You're never going to find one of those guys that grew up down here inside just sitting down. Like we grew up playing ball. Like we always grew up, even if it wasn't our sport directly, it might have been just hitting LA Fitness to go get some reps in that, in the gym. Like it might have just been going to a baseball park just to throw the ball. It really is just the ability to be outside on a 365 basis. I really can. That's the really only thing I can contribute to the exponential, ability to produce this type of talent and on all sides. Like it really is one of those things where at the high school I coach at, we have a 4-star running back, a 4-star DB, a 4-star defensive tackle, a 3-star safety, a 4-star safety, at just one high school. One high school. Like we just played the number 4 team in the nation last Thursday and we lost 18-10. We're number 24, I think, in the state or something like that. And we're number 43 in the country. But we play Bergeron Catholic, New Jersey school. We play them in 2 weeks. They're coming down to us. They are going to cramp up like crazy down here. Like
the weather's real, man. That climate acclimatization is a real
insanity.
And there's
insanity.
I'm not going to keep plugging the book, but there's actually a chapter in the book about that. Because if you're college football fans, it's a very unfortunate situation where young men die almost every year in August in preseason camp in
crazy.
Florida, but also Alabama, some other states. And and you're reading that sometimes there's systematic failure with the team and the sportsman stuff, but a lot of times it's just the young man couldn't train in that kind of environment because he's from Minnesota and now it's August in Miami, right?
Definitely.
My one piece of advice I have for anybody: if you get down to campus early and start getting used to that weather and conditioning in that weather, that is a huge advantage.
Huge.
For the rest of your life and health-wise, that's something I would definitely say. Because I would say we're in northern New Jersey, and we have a turf field for our soccer and baseball teams. They share it, and it's about 10 degrees warmer on there than it is outside. There's no shade anywhere, and it's brutal for me to be out there in a polo blowing a whistle during morning drills. So if you're going to come out there and run and compete and do that day after day after day, try to get down here, get used to the temperature, and be as safe as you can. Electrolytes, water, eat properly, but get used to it early and take it seriously, because that heat and humidity is not a joke, as we learned too many times.
Oh yeah, I mean we had multiple kids cramping before halftime on Thursday last week just because of how hot, and that was with kids that have been acclimated. So it's like we were still cramping and we're used to the heat. Like that's how hot it was. Like that's obviously adrenaline and things like that obviously play into into that, but even still, like you just said, the safety precautions, you still take all those, but really the conditioning side, you're still pushing your body to that peak when it comes to game time. So again, like a burgeoning Catholic that's going to come down and play in this heat in 2 weeks, you hope they're ready, because we just experienced it and we know it was not, all sunshines and daisies. It was 7:30 and it was still 92 degrees on that field. So, it's just crazy the ability that our athletes are able to condition in that type of extremes, because again, not every, like you said, the kid from Minnesota that's coming down to the University of Miami as a left tackle, it's a big difference. Like if you can get down there, and obviously the ability to get to campus in say January versus waiting until summer, acclimate for 6 months, and then, hey, okay, this heat is real down here. And then you're able to kind of progress yourself through the summer. Now you feel good going into fall. So yeah, it is a crazy whirlwind of athleticism down here, and obviously built by the heat. Gatorade, was invented just for those electrolytes in Florida. Nowadays you can go, there's so many IV companies. You can go get an IV, 72 hours before your game, because you just know you're prone to cramping, whatever it may be, things like that. Get it done and get it out of the way now.
Yeah. And let me ask you one more question while I have you guys here. As an agent, what do you look for in a client you take on? What are the biggest things you look for that I think this young man is my kind of player I want to work with? I'm always curious about that.
So from the agent perspective, the biggest thing when it comes to the guys that I'm signing, I know where I sit as an agent. Like if I could sign a first overall pick and I just know he's a sure thing, of course I would 100% do it on, no thoughts about it. Obviously sign the papers, done and done. But because of where I am on the agent side, the kind of kid I look for is I need him to bring the chip on his shoulder, the loyalty to the agency, to me, because it is cutthroat and people are out there to grab your guy, and then the tenacity to go out and be the best of their capability, and then have faith in the process. And those are really my top four things. The fifth one can kind of vary on the player, statistically, school, things like that when it comes to play. But those four things, whatever order you want to put them in, they all need to be at the very top. I mean, I legitimately don't want somebody that I even have to second guess. He's answering DMs from other agents, or he is not putting in the work because I can't be at every workout. He's training his ass off for pro day. He's in the gym getting shots up even when I can't get there to rebound. Whatever it is. But those things I need to know in that type of player. And usually with the due diligence that I do and that we do on a scouting perspective, we kind of already know before we even reach out to those players that's what he kind of is. That's who he is. We want to, and Will knows this, but I always say I want to represent the guys that are willing to wear my name on their chest, just like I'm willing to wear their name on the back of their jersey. That's my mindset.
Yeah, I think that's awesome, man. I'm always curious in that because I deal with a handful of agents throughout the course of the year, but just up until very recently, I try to just always steer clear of them based on the NCAA rules at the time, which are very different now. But every time I talk to one, I'm always interested in that because like our basketball guys will have them. Our baseball guys, they start to get out. We'll start to contact guys, and they'll get contacted. And there's always things
yeah.
you guys are looking for.
Yeah, those four things. Everyone, if you're pushing to the pro side, everyone that you're probably like looking at as an agent has pro potential. So it's like, what other than that is going to separate this player? Because every scout and coach already knows your analytics. They already know your numbers. They already know what you're running. All that stuff, you're probably, unless you're just abnormally athletic or just a freak of nature towards something, which it does happen. But the majority of the guys that are around getting drafted or, coming out of college, if you're a pro guy, your other attributes weigh more than just your athletic ability. Like, they already know what you can do on the field. Now they want to know is, can they put their name or can they put their logo on your helmet? That's what they want to know. They want to know that that star, the Dallas Cowboy star, is going to be in good hands. They already know you can get on the field and be in good hands. But when you're walking around Dallas, are you going to make them look good? Are you going to be the professional they're expecting out of you? So a lot of that, and that, again, even as an agent, that's kind of what I'm looking for. I want the pro guy that I don't have to worry about being professional on his own end, on his, in his own world, and then obviously on with the team and who he is as a player. Because those two guys are they can be two completely different people. Luke Kuechly is a perfect example. He was a pro off the field. You never had to worry about him. But when he was on the field, he knew every play. He knew every defense that they were running. They knew every offense that was coming at him. And they were two different people, though. Everyone said he would flip the switch. The lights came on and they were ready to go. So if I could find that guy or girl, I'm a big proponent of like women's volleyball now. I'm big. I'm probably gonna put some investment in that side as well on the pro volleyball side. So women's sports, if you can find those girls that just have that it factor on both the player side and the professional side, that's those are winners right there. And that's obviously, of course, everybody wants a winner. Nobody wants a loser when it comes to the pro side.
No, absolutely not. I'm going to throw one thing out there, too. I like the idea of investing in women's volleyball because, in no disrespect, there's a lot of great women's sports to watch. My daughter plays a ton of softball. I'm big in Little League. I love softball. There might not be a better sport than college volleyball. As far as there's a point every couple seconds, everybody's athletic, everybody's jumping over the net. The momentum shifts are crazy.
Crazy.
Everyone tells you they don't like women's sports, which I think is a stupid statement. I say go watch a volleyball game and tell me you didn't enjoy that. I think that's the one where you kind of break people in on. And then real quick, in addition to my college athletics, I'm super involved in Long Branch, New Jersey Little League. First year, I was the coach of the softball team. Second year, coach of the softball team and director of softball operations for the league. Third year, both of those jobs, plus safety officer for the league. And that is a level of suburban dad I was not ready for. That came at me so fast. 3 years ago, I was like the coolest guy in my town. Now, everywhere I go, people hear Little League questions. I'm like, hey, where's the party? No, what field's my kid at this week? And I'm like, all right, that's the way we're doing it. But yeah, man,
that is a great one.
I'm involved in a youth sport thing too, and I really like it. It's been really fun. It's been a fun couple of years. So I'm going to ride that as long as my daughter wants to keep playing.
That's great. That's great. Yeah, no, down here, I can tell you this much. Youth sports down here, you could compete with some high schools down here with the amount of fans that they produce, and some of their Pee Wee Sundays are as packed as some of the high schools around here. So it is something down here, that is for sure. And so I get it on the youth side of things for sure. But Will, any last questions? Before we do our our last couple questions for Angelo here.
Nah, I just kind of wanted to end it with what you were probably going to ask anyway, which is
go ahead, hit them.
If you had any words of advice for not only people that are trying to do what you do right now and what you've done for over 20 years, almost 21 years, if you want to talk to that a little bit, and then also, give some advice to the players that are striving to be professional athletes and, perfect their game, in the weight room as well to become better players.
All right, great. So the first thing is you want to be a top-notch athlete. Please go by the next 4 years, compete, win, and thrive in college athletics. No, I'm only kidding. That will help.
That's for sure.
But what I will say is this, man. What I think all young men and women need to do is do a realistic assessment of your talent, your shortcoming, what you need to get better at. Find out how you compare to people in at least your town, if not your whole age group across the country, which you can do online now. And be honest with yourself about your weaknesses and your strengths and try to get better at them, right? Like you can't make yourself 6'8", but you can make yourself have the best conditioning, right? You can make yourself one step faster, side to side. You can make yourself a little more explosive. So I think really do that and think about where you can help a team or help a coaching staff and where you're an asset. And really lean into that, right? Lean into your talent and your body type and make that work for you. On the other piece of advice I give the college kids all the time, in an ideal world, you got to do strength and conditioning. But if you only got the time to do one this summer before you go to college, I say do conditioning, and here's why. If you get to a college weight room and you're unsure of how to do things, need coaching, that's why my job exists. We'll help you with that, right? If you show up on day one of practice and you're the last person in every conditioning drill and you're thrown up and on the trainer's table after every practice, you're quote-unquote out of shape, you got a bullseye on your back immediately because you can take care of being in shape. And then would you guys agree with that, though?
Oh, yeah, I agree with that 100%.
Girl, and then we can deal with the strength side of things when you get there, right? For people who want to work in sports, and you guys, there's all the cliches, work hard, be early, don't get complacent, all that's important. But I think the one thing is kind of find a niche for yourself. Like you guys found the agency NIL stuff in a podcast, I think is awesome. I got on both books I wrote. There's a billion fitness books. Why didn't you want to read mine? But my first one was geared towards a very underserved population, which is endurance athletes that don't know how to weight train yet. So let's introduce weight training to people that up till now will run 28 miles in pouring rain but are terrified by a lat pull-down machine. Let's serve that demographic, right? And in the next couple of years, or in the next 4 years, because everybody wants to go to college. Everybody's goal is to play college sports at the high school level, and everybody thinks signing a scholarship is the finish line. It's not. It's a starting line. If you sign that deal to go to whatever college it is, you should put it on YouTube, put it on Instagram, put the hat on, have a ball. It's awesome. You're a local celebrity for at least the rest of the week, right? But at some point, you got to figure out what that next step entails. What are you doing when you get there to either stay there or in the transfer portal area or move up to even better opportunity? So, and that info is just really not out there. So, again, I think I've done a good job as a strength and conditioning coach in general, but I think I found two niches the last couple of years where I really filled in some blanks that weren't there. And that's opened a lot of doors for me that if I would have just not focused on something so, small but underserved, I probably wouldn't be doing the things I'm doing right now.
Absolutely.
Yep, no, agreed. And, I think you nailed it on the head with regards to the, the ability to condition yourself. You can really teach strength and conditioning, but like, if you're not going to condition on your own, and I preach this even some of my athletes as well, like we only get so many hours in the day to condition you. Like I can get you in the weight room and we can build up strength, every day. But like the conditioning side, to be able to get out there, do the extra work, that's on you. That's on you to want to get better and put in the extra time. So from coach to coach, that's right up my alley. So I agree with that 100%. And then, of course, all the cliches, we can literally go on about every cliche about, the working hard and the being in the sports industry, you got to find your niche and all that stuff. But in reality, if you just do what you love at 100%, you'll find your own niche. Like, even if it's not something that you thought it would be, if you just push it to the limit 100%, you'll find it. So, again, even for me, I believe that's, right on the money with all that. You'll have to send me a couple copies of your book, because I love to read both of those. So I know I can definitely introduce some of the guys to, my guys that like to read, introduce them to both of those and get you some new readers on that as well. So would love that. And Will, anything else from you?
No, not really. Just thank you for your time. And, it was really great to get to know you and hear a little insight about what you do for Seton Hall. And, best of luck going into the next season.
Hey, guys, thank you very much. Really had a good time. The books are both available on Amazon.com. Angelo Gingerelli, LinkedIn, Angelo Gingerelli, and Instagram is Mr. Fifth Round, MR, the number 5, THRUND. Thanks a lot. Hope we can do it again sometime.
All right.
Thanks, Angelo. We really appreciate you, man. This is another episode of No Client Agent Privilege, aka No Cap Podcast. Our special guest, Angelo, head strength and conditioning coach over at Seton Hall University. Your boy Will, your boy Evan. Thank you so much for joining us on another episode. We'll see you next time.
Peace.